Hi, I'm Jupiter Darkling, and I'm here with Crisis Darkling, and today we're gonna answer a few questions that we've been asked. So, we got 4 questions in total. 2 of them have been asked by Unhinged Cotton Candy on Instagram, and the other 2 by Miss Jekko. Miss Jekko? Sorry if I'm pronouncing that not right. Artist on Instagram as well. So, the first question that we're gonna answer is by Unhinged Cotton Candy. And she asks, do you visualize what you're going to create or just go for it? So personally, I usually just go for it. But along the way, I start getting an idea of what I want to create. And then I visualize it. And I start going in that direction. So let's say if I'm going to create a Barbed by a Heart portrait that I'm really into making right now. I have a vague idea when I'm coming up with a character of my own, when I'm not doing commissions or draw this in your style challenges. And then I just go for it. I have a vague idea, I start creating, and then I have a visualization in my mind that makes it come together, and then, yeah, I start doing it. So it's a little bit of both for me.
Yeah, same with me, a bit of both. If I'm doing a body of work where I know like I'm going to do like an exhibition or a collection, usually I'll listen to music and I normally get like images visuals in my mind that just pop up like from nowhere. But it's then trying to capture them onto, like trying to convert that into art. But I'll get images in my mind, but normally like day-to-day one-offs, if I'm doing a piece of artwork, I normally just work with the flow, go with the magic of it. And I'm normally like blocking when I'm doing my artwork. I do sketch on paper at first, and I just go with the flow on that. And I just found it's like magic how I do it. And it's, you don't know where you're going to go with that. You can start out not know where you're going to go with it. And I think it's like when you write music sort of thing as well, it's like you can jam away, create a song, an album, whatever, and a lot of musicians do that. They'll don't know where they're going to go. So sometimes like there's no direction, and then there's a direction as well when I get an inspiration, when I've got a theme and I know what I want to do. That's where like I'll listen to music, and that's where it comes into it. Totally different ways of working, but it's all work, and I think like people can take any inspiration from this. Like there's no right or wrong with that. And I guess like with that question, it's a bit. A lot of people like I've heard that question before. You can work with both ways, and I love both directions that they're going. Both like the process of it.
Yeah.
I love the magic of it, where you don't know where it's going to go. You just start with something. And there's a thing like how the old artists used to do with like blocking in, and when you're painting, and same works for digital, but it's more like traditional. You see things. What you slap the paint on the canvas or whatever, and you start seeing things that you could never plan. So there's the magic of that, and then you've got the other end of it where I just see things from music, images just pop in my mind.
Yeah.
And but yeah, that's all work.
So the next question is also by Unhinged Cotton Candy. And that is, what are some key factors that inspire your art ideas? Ooh, that's a nice one. For me, it depends because I create a lot of different art in a lot of different art styles. So when I break it down, my Barbed by a Heart portraits are usually kind of pastel goth because I like vibrant colors. But when I do my other art, it's like semi-realism and more gothic, a bit darker, dark colors, usually black and white or now since I've been picking up painting, I discovered that I like working in blue tones or in purple tones, not just black and white. And that's going well for me as well. So it varies. It also has to do with music for me a lot. Like, I'm a huge fan of Skin, for example. It's true crime music. So those are very dark topics about remembering the victims of certain crimes. And that inspires a lot as well, along with some metalcore music, industrial stuff. My music taste is all over the place, so yeah. But music inspires a lot for me, and fashion, such as like golf subculture, when it comes to the fashion sense as well, that I like to incorporate in my work.
Yeah, for me, anything. Key factors can come from absolutely anything. I'm always on the lookout, no matter what it is, whether it doesn't have to directly be like an artist or anything. It can be if you're watching a film, a song, or anything like that,
Yeah.
or something that happens in like your daily life, anything from nature. I mix a lot of things. I'm always, I think to answer that question, I'm always on the lookout from anywhere that like can strike, because you wake up and you can plan the day, but you don't know what like comes from that. And we had a trip in Berlin, and there was so much like inspiration I got from that. Yeah, to look at my work, like you won't believe that or anything, but it's just the experiences. I think it's experiences that come from that, whether it's something from reality or something from media that you're listening or watching. But it's just, I think as an artist, it's just, I think you can grow people as an artist just on the lookout all the time, no matter what. Something that means something to you, and when you create art, it's meaningful. So I think it can be anything that means something to you, from a boring day, mundane day.
Yeah.
And if you can find like beauty out of that, there's the magic as well on that. So I'm just on the lookout for things all the time with that. And you've got grand things where you can go on a trip somewhere and it could like inspire you. You can, and sometimes you can go out planning, looking for something and not find any inspiration.
Very true.
But I think when you're on the lookout for things, that's where I get that. That's the key factors, I think, for me on that. But normally it is from like music or other art forms, and it can be from anything, not just from art itself. It can just be, you can get deep into, when you start researching things, if something hits you and you start researching something, I tend to like look into things, and then you find the depth of like what they've like created in that, and sometimes you find that inspiring, like how they've gone so in depth on this. So it can be anything. Like some people could listen to like a music album and probably might not do anything for them. It might touch somebody else because everyone's tastes are different. Some people can really feel something from a song or an album. Other people may not. But it's what happens to you, and it's where you go from that. So then if you listen to, say, like an album or watch a film or something, and then if something hits me, I'll research into it.
Yeah.
The work they've done into that, it starts leading onto like other things. So it's a bit like when you look at Wikipedia. How many times you look at Wikipedia, it's the only way I can describe it, and it sends you to another link. Before you know it, a couple of hours could have gone by and you've just looked, and it's that thing, but again from the soul sort of thing.
Yeah.
It's like if you imagine Wikipedia, but just going on your own accord on things and stuff like that. So yeah, it's just from anything. It's just not directly from anything in that way. And again, as an artist, you've got to be on the lookout for that, I think.
Oh yeah, definitely. And what I want to add to that is, like, personally, I find a lot of inspiration from aesthetics, but yeah, that's where we very differ in certain things, because what I do is more shallow.
Everyone's different, of course. You know what I mean? It's just, yeah.
Yeah, and I don't know. I did this test once, and that said, this art test, and it said from which place and emotion do you create your art. And for me, it came out with discontent. That I'm just, and this was many years ago before I even met you. And it said that I create art because I'm discontent in life. And that I don't like how the world works, and that I don't like how, certain things are going in life, and all of that. So all of that come together and was basically discontent. I'm actually quite curious to see how much that has changed. Now, if I could find a test again, I'll do it again and see what comes out of it now, because I'm in a better place in life now. And I think that reflects on my art as well, because I used to draw things that were quite dark. And, well, I used to doodle a lot. And those were very dark images when I was quite young. And now I'm more stylized with things. Now I find more inspiration in aesthetics and in colors and such things, rather than events or feelings. And I think I create most of my art now because I'm quite happy with how I developed artistically, that I can do different styles, and I'm happy in life now. It reflects on one another. So where my barbed wire heart portraits are very colorful and bright and pastel and things like that, is a huge contrast to what I do when I draw under the name Mrs. Darkling art, because then I tackle darker themes in life. But it's harder for me to tap into that because I'm no longer in a dark place. And I don't find inspiration in, events in life in general, as in like news and how the world works, because if I indulge myself in that, I get to a dark place again. Because I'm not happy with how the world works, of course not. But I can't bring myself to tap into that. So if I create something personal, it is from past emotions, which is hard for me to reflect upon, even though I have PTSD. That I'm affected by trauma, but I can tap into that for art. Not anymore. Because I'm not in that dark place anymore, and I don't know, I just work in a weird way where I can't really tap into something that's no longer there. If that makes sense.
No, I totally get that, and I meant to say myself I relate to that with the where you disconnected from the world, and the way I create my art as well is like I could take inspiration from something and totally turn it into something that I want to like create.
Yeah.
And it's that power of interpretation, and I mean,
definitely.
So I'm pleased you said that there, because like that, that's something I wanted to say about interpretation as well, where I could take anything from any like source from the day or anything, but I totally get that as well, where you've got to be in the moment. Yeah. Because a lot of like, again, when you look at something like popular like music, and people write an heartbreak song when they're going through a heartbreak or something like that, but they don't tend to do it afterwards. Yeah. And but I'm the same on that. It's I can be angry with the world. Yeah. But is it just take that inspiration, that interpretation, from certain things? But I'm struggling myself because I've found happiness myself on things, and to do something dark as well is that you've got to balance it out. Yeah. But I get that thing where you've got to tap into something that you used to be, but at the same time, do you want to go there or? Yeah. And I think to tackle that, you've got to. I don't know, found beauty in the current moment as well. Yeah. And where you've come from, and does that produce something, or where do you go from that? Yeah. And again, like things that. Factors that inspire you, it can be anything from like gemstones, nature, definitely, colours. Because at the minute I'm working on like a lot of black and whites, but I've got this something on the back burner at the minute where I want to do colours. I want to do something from like gemstones and things, and but again that can go into the thing that I'm doing now, you know. And but I do want to reinvent myself as an artist as well on things. So I'm doing black and white at the moment, but who's to say I'm going to go wacky with colours one day, and that could be something like from the gemstones and.
Yeah.
But then that's the thing where, as an artist, like, it might sound crazy, but gemstones, they've got an history, how old they are, it's from the past itself.
True.
And yet they create something beautiful. So is it as an artist, you look at and create a body of work as fossils. You create fossils from your past. If you can't tap into it anymore, you've got to go back to tap in, and you can't create raw emotion from now. Do you tap into it in the sense of, like, I don't know, you create a fossilized kind of thing, like nature creates beauty in that. Is it that we're taking? And that's the thing as an artist, like, that's how I think as an artist, like, again, how things are fossilized.
Yeah.
It's all from the past, but look how beautiful it is. It sounds crazy, but that's the way I think on certain things. So to tap into the past on something, you've got to look into other things that inspire you as well, and bring it up as an artist. You could probably got to work in a different way.
Yeah.
But I get that it's hard to go back. Sometimes you don't want to go back on that.
Yeah.
Or do you accept that it's part of your past and you bring it forward and get it out of the way and get that chapter out of the way, sort of thing, and also use it as self-expression that this is who I used to be, but not anymore.
Yeah.
Or do you completely relate to it in a way of, like, interpretation, or do you create art for other people to relate to, where you've been from that in the past and you bring it forward because you know right now somebody's going to be going through that right now. And I think that for me as an artist is what does carry me through on that. Like, that might be beyond me right now, but and a lot of artists, like, could go and they'll create art, music, whatever it is at the time, raw emotion. They can have a great hit from that, and it haunts them for the rest of their life.
Yeah.
Now, one day they might find happiness and they might be in a different place again. All right, they might change style in, like, music or visuals, art, whatever. But that, if they've got a hit, they can't control what the public love from the past.
Yeah.
They've got to take that forward with them. And is it in music that you go through heartache, you write about it at the time, you get it out, because you were so raw at the time, that's what creates the hit. And these are the factors that are going on at that point.
Yeah.
But then when you do live concerts after that, you've got to carry that on, but then you've got to perform it. But true performers, what you hear a lot of them is they get back into that song again.
Yeah.
So they don't have to be in that. So is it something that, as artists, you've got to train yourself to get into that role again on things, to do them things? And they're the things I question, like, from what you're saying there, and I totally relate to that. But I've also thought myself that, no, you've got to, because you're an artist, you've got, like, a role to play in that. Sometimes I think being an artist, you've got to dip into something. Because you're projecting whatever you're doing onto your audience, because somebody right now is going through what you've either been through or you're going through as well. So to put it into the terms like music sort of thing, but visuals are the same thing again, that if you create a visual and you can sell prints from that, and that might be from some raw emotion at the time, but are you going to blank that out when you're getting sales in the future that was from that raw time? You know, and I think it's just stepping into that, not to go off on a tangent and stuff like that, but factors that inspire me as well is, like, concerts that I've been to, and again, the acts that I'm watching at the time, and you're in it, and again, they've moved on from when they wrote them songs. But when you're in them songs, what you're seeing from that act is they believe the songs.
Yeah.
And if they don't believe it, then what's the point? And that's their attitude. So they in some way go back in that way. Again, so as an artist, I think you've got to probably step into, like, a role, if that makes any sense.
No, it does. And not to go off on one, but for example, I just mentioned Skinned earlier for true crime music, and they got the song Chris Watts. In case you don't know the case about him, he met this woman. They fell in love. They got married. They had 2 daughters, very young, under the age of 5. She was pregnant with the third one, was going to be a boy. But he grew bored of her. She was afraid of losing him because she's one of the happy family. He ended up killing his 2 daughters and his pregnant wife. And that is such a sad song. And this is gonna sound a bit weird, but when I heard Skins perform that live, you can hear the emotion in her voice because she feels personally connected to all the cases that she delves into. And I'm a bit like that, as in, I hear her voice, like the shakiness in her voice, the emotion in it, and then I can relate to that in that haunting moment. And that's the way where I like feed off other people's emotions, and that I can put into an artwork. Where I cannot do that is with my own emotions, because with my PTSD, I tend to go back in that time and get stuck there. And that's where I'm scared to go back into what I feel myself or used to feel, because I don't want to get stuck in that moment again. With PTSD, you start reliving it, and I've been doing so well with it that it scares me to go back. So, yeah, and then with my autism, I'm quite literal as well. And that's where I think that most of my inspiration and my key factor inspirations come from aesthetics and more flat substances than something more deep. Because I can feed off other people's emotions and do something with that, but I cannot tap into my own. So that's where I think I'm a lot more flat and more literal and more style-based.
No, but again, I think this is a great question, because like it's such a deep topic. I apologise, like it's not a simple answer, but
No.
I guess it's like a good question. But
Definitely.
But everyone's different. Like what you're saying there, is that where a lot of artists reinvent themselves? Then is that a sign for you to like then reinvent yourself, or whatever it is you'll find a way?
Yeah.
But again, to that way I was on about, like you go to a concert, and I've seen acts where they get so deep into the music and songs, whether they live in that moment or not, they are in that moment, and that's what you're paying for, and that's what they're performing. And then to bring back Berlin again with experiences, again, it happens to be the place where what I'm on about this concert is where they recorded as well. But that is inspiration again, without the key factors on the inspiration. This is where it's so complex. And there I am, where the studio is. I'm looking at where the studio was, where they recorded, and Berlin was such an inspirational place anyway. And it just happened to be, where in music, what I like and stuff, in this studio, you go and you look at where it all came from that. And that was the point where they was about to break up. They've gone through traumas themselves at that point. And yet I look at live concerts where I also got different inspiration from. Yeah. And that's where inspiration can just lead you like a Wikipedia. It just sends you off onto so many different places. Yeah. And that's what I advise is there's just anything. Just see life like Wikipedia when it comes to inspiration. I don't think things are as black and white. And between us two, again, totally different things again. Yeah. Whether you reinvent yourself or everyone's different. Quite
an interesting answer. And I didn't think we'd get that deep into it, to be honest. Because on the surface, it seems like such a list a few things answer. But you can go really deep in it. So, yeah, thank you, Unhinged Cotton Candy.
Yeah, it gets you thinking. You don't realise yourself. You think it's going to be a simple answer, and then it's not.
No, it was a really good question. I'm happy she asked it. The next one is from Miss Jecho Artist. I'm so sorry if I'm mispronouncing that. Who are your greatest artist inspirations? So I wrote a few down. I'm gonna just say a few that I wrote down that I can waffle on about. So my first one is of course my fiance, Art by Darkling. That may sound a bit like, you must be biased, but no, that's how we met. We met through his art. And I did doll makeup, and he was researching some doll makeup for a project. He reached out to me, and I replied back. And I remember looking at his page and seeing his art, and I was like, wow, that is incredible. And I was absolutely stunned. And I don't have that with a whole lot of artists that, just absolutely, it just sends me, that gives you chills, that you're just like, this is something special. And no, it's not biased. It's how we met. We met through his art, and he's only gotten better. So I think that I can say that my fiance is my biggest artist inspiration. I also wrote down eValidation on Instagram. She is a tattoo artist. I got 2 tattoos by her. And there's just something in the way that she draws that absolutely does it for me. She does like heavy black line with simple, elegant shading that just is such a contrast from one another. Like in one art piece, that just wows me. And the way she draws like girls with the eyes, there's something about the eyes that she draws when she draws girls, and it fascinates me. So I also urge you to check her out. She's a really good artist. Another one that I like does little sculptures and sometimes like just visual art. I don't know if I'm pronouncing this right, but Xanthi. They do these, for example, a little biscuit made out of clay, and then create an eyeball on it, fake eyelashes, resin, so it looks all shiny, and it is a bit dark mixed with some whimsy, and I absolutely love the sculpture they create. And the art, because sometimes they post like digital art, it is brilliant. Seriously, it's something special as well. It's quite unique. Oh yeah, someone I recently discovered, Celestial Soul Art, shading. I love good shading, and this person, she creates whimsical characters, usually a bit in a gothic fashion, but sometimes a bit more colorful or a bit more fantasy-like. But the shading is so good that because I sometimes talk to her, and that's how I described her to my fiance. Like, check out this person, cool shading. So yeah, that's like a key point that I love about their art, is like the way she shades. It's like, oh, it's so smooth yet textured. That's the only way I can describe it, and that really elevates her art. So I think that's really cool. Another one is Shadow Bunny Draws. Traditional art. I don't know exactly what medium. I think colored pencils or watercolor or something, but it's so dreamy. I love the eyes, the way the hair is drawn, and it is just exceptional dreamy. Just really well framed, and the photos they take of the artwork is very artistic in its own way. But yeah, that's another artist I recently discovered that I absolutely love and urge you to check out as well. I'll be adding images of all their artwork here as well with proper credit, so you can all have a little taste of what it is. And last one I'm gonna mention is Velvet Mush. Traditional art, beautiful frames, a bit whimsy goth, absolutely gorgeous. Urge you to check it out. It is it's a bit baroque art, a bit gothic, a bit whimsical, a bit vintage looking as well, and beautiful paintings. Seriously, small paintings in beautiful frames that absolutely fit it perfectly. There's a few artists that I absolutely adore, and you need to check out for yourself and give them some proper support, because they deserve it. Art is hard. And I just get excited when I see their art on my feed. I'm just like, oh yeah, cool. They post something again, and they create new art, and I can look at it for quite a long time and have my own interpretations about it, which is fun for me because, as I said earlier, I'm quite literal. And these are the people that, like, I can look at their art and kind of get lost in their little world, and yeah, I love that.
So I think one thing that stands out for me is, and it might seem boring, but time and time again, it's Van Gogh for me, and not as in a style, because I don't paint anything like him,
Mm-hmm.
but it's the story behind and the feelings I get.
Yeah.
Like when you look at his work and where he came from, and he beat the odds on things. And although I think he saw one painting in his life,
Yeah.
he was a late starter. And I think a combination of everything, the story, and he tried to kind of reinvent the wheel with art.
Yeah.
You know, doing something new, pushing the boundaries. But yeah, his style again, and I love artists that reinvent themselves, and he did himself. You look at his early works, and it was really dark and dingy, and I think, if I remember rightly, somebody advised him lighten up, and then that's what came out with the all the colour stuff that he was doing. But there's something with his works that when you look at it, you kind of go there. There's something there that you go into, and we saw the museum, his exhibition there.
It's really good.
And I was fascinated when I was there, because it was like, oh wow, that's, and you can see his actual brush strokes, and it's like, but you get into the mind of the person, but yeah, he was never famous at the time. He was only famous, and again, this is part of his story, that it was his sister-in-law that after he died, she saw potential in what he was doing.
Yeah. And
it's so sad that he never did it himself. And there was so many letters between him and his brother that this is how they know so much about him. And I think after Van Gogh killed himself, 6 months after that, his brother died. And that's who he was married to, and that was his sister-in-law. So she obviously lost her husband. She lost both of them. And then she found these artworks that Van Gogh had done, and she got it out there for him. And it was actually... And I think that story of when somebody believes in something, it's just sadly that was too late for him.
Yeah.
But when somebody believes in you, and hopefully people can do that while he's still alive, but nobody believed in him while he was alive, and that's a shame. Yeah. And tons of... He did that much work as well that... He where he lived, it was just... The paint wasn't even dry when he died. You know, there was that many unfinished wet works that he was doing. And I think that says a lot on things, the story of it. And I think, the story as an artist as well.
Yeah.
So it goes so deep with that. So it's not a literal style with what I'm on about with that.
No.
But there's so many things I do relate to, the late starter, everything, and all that. But I do love his work in that way that I just go somewhere, and that's what I want people to feel like in my artwork. Mm-hmm. That you don't have to have the same style to have inspiration from somebody. It can be something completely different.
Yeah, definitely.
And but that's what art's about. And although I don't work in his style, it's the same process that as you create that as an artist, what you want with your viewer, because he's creating something for somebody somewhere.
Yeah.
It's just whether people believe in it or not. But it shows as a business point of view that she had the business head to push it out there.
Yeah.
And she got him out there. And but I've seen his work as well, and that you've seen it years later. And I think to see it, it's it hits you, like what you leave behind as a creative person. A lot of people, you do a 9 to 5, that's it. You know, when your time's up, basically that's it. You people know about what you did in life, and that's it. But I think something with art, again, whether it's music, visuals, whatever it is, anything creative, that you leave something in the world well after. And I think that's something, and I don't mean in an ego way. No. It's something that there's comfort in that if you can touch people later on in life, and that's the thing about Van Gogh, everything he did was about death, because he got famous after death, and his impact only happened after death, because who was bothered about him when he was alive? Nobody.
Yeah.
Every bit of impact he's ever done is when he's gone. Yet he was a late starter anyway, as an artist. And and I think, in some way as an artist, I think everyone's got to relate to him in some way. Oh, and that's why I think, he's, as the question is, the greatest inspiration. So I've got to go by that. And also, somebody else, where I think the black and whites come from, is because I used to be a photographer, and it was Anton Corbijn, and he does these gritty black and whites. And I think the black and whites that he was doing is something where that's brought out later on with my art that I was doing, because like I kind of paint what I want to create like with photos before, but instead of relying on like models and that communication, and the thing with photography is you can never quite get the air how you want it or the pose that you want. Whereas you don't have to communicate to anybody with your paintings, with your artworks. But I think what I loved about him with Anton is it creates like things in scenery, which is something I want to do again like later on. 'Cause a lot of things that I do can be like studio style that I'm doing, but there's something on the back burner again that I want to do where I've come from on that. That's definitely showing that place where I've come from, and it's the gritty stuff that he's got a way of like photographing his subjects in like a mountain landscape, whatever, and it's almost like they're carved in stone.
Yeah.
The way he puts the background into the subject as well, and it's this gritty look that he's got. There's a lot more work is smooth that I'm doing at the minute, so it's a bit weird saying that it's inspiration again, but there's things that you can do later on as well. There's so many things that I want to do. So I think that's a different way, like something that people don't really talk about, like inspiration that you aren't actually quite done yet.
Yeah.
And I've never heard anyone on about something on the back burner before. It's always there in my mind, but definitely the black and whites I'm into because of that. And also later on that I didn't directly get intentional like inspiration from, but Tim Burton. But when I was posting my art at first, a lot of people was saying the same thing, that it was a style of Tim Burton. So of course when you start looking into it, you start realising, there's like familiarities with it, and so something's inspiration from what people were saying about my work is something that I took inspiration from, because I realised like I had a certain style that met, and wow, you know what I mean, like Tim Burton.
Yeah.
And but that came after like what I was doing in the first place, from like the core what I'm doing or anything. But it's a weird thing, because like when I started my artwork, there was nothing. I just did what I did, and again, it's something else I don't really heard anybody like say about, but there was just something there that I found a style pretty quick, and obviously that was to my advantage on that.
Yeah.
I know a lot of times that like 9 times out of 10 it doesn't work like that for people, but from my point it was that was it. I kind of, it was afterwards that I started realising like certain things after. But I don't know where that came from. It just happened. I just was in my room and I just painted away, and I didn't really look at anything or get influenced by anything. And it's kind of like you got the core things inside you, but like say Van Gogh is not my style. I didn't go into my bedroom and start painting Van Gogh style, or you know, things like that, or any other influences. But I think it's when I reflect the certain things that it's from. I get inspiration from like feelings rather than direct styles, if that makes any sense.
No, it does. And another artist I want to give quick credit to is like, because you said Van Gogh, and that's why I figured like, oh right, of course, like older artists as well from, you know. One artist that is wacky is Jeroen Bos. His artwork, I don't even know how to describe it, so I'm just going to show a few images in this podcast of his artwork. I don't know much about him. All I know is that is like, imagine Dali with his art with like the melting clock and stuff like that, but even more bizarre, with like a giant nose with chickens coming out of it and stuff like that. Like it just to say something random and weird, it's stuff like that. And he did these huge paintings, and you just don't know where to look, and then you see something in the corner, and then you're drawn to the center, and then you look to another corner, and everything is just weird but connected in a very bizarre way. And I don't know, it's not like my greatest inspiration as an artist, but it's just the strangeness that does it for me. Just how strange it is, especially from, I don't even know what time period it is, but like, you can imagine when you see other painters in a similar style that you're like, okay, I don't know what that guy was on, but that is bizarre, but in the best possible way. And that strangeness, that uniqueness, that daring to be different and doing something more out of the box, that's what inspires me about that. The last question is also by Miss Jecho Artist. Again, apologies for probably mispronouncing that. Favorite medium to make art? For me, that's changed over the years a lot. When I was younger, I did everything, and I mean like age 12, 13, I did everything with fine liners. I didn't even use pencils or anything, I just immediately drew with my fine liners. And I drew these weird, very depressing characters with cuts all over them and things like that. It was a very dark time. And then when I was like 15, 16, I went to liquid ink from Winsor & Newton. And I drew everything with a special ink brush. And what are those pens called? The special pens for ink that you dip in ink. I go completely blank.
Yeah, definitely.
Like it kind of looks like a fountain pen, but it sucks up the ink from the tip of the pen.
Yeah, I know what I mean, that kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah, and then you draw with it. So that's what I started doing after that, and I loved it. It was so much fun. And then as I got older again, I think around the age of 19, 20, something like that, I went to Copic markers, like alcohol markers, and that was another thing that I absolutely loved. And then when I went to uni, that was also when I was like 20, kind of a late starter with uni, we had to learn to draw digital. When I first got there, I didn't know how to draw digitally at all. I did everything with Copic markers or fine liners, a combination of both. And then we had this illustration project. And everyone around me did the illustration project digitally. I was the only one who handed in traditional artwork. And we had to draw this image of something to do with a Japanese poem. And I drew this lady. You saw her from behind. You saw her shoulder. She was wearing a kimono, and there was like this blossom and this cherry blossom and a night scene. And I never got the artwork back, actually, now that I think of it. It's quite a shame because I was really proud of it. And it's something with a cat. I think there was a cat on her kimono or something. I don't know, but I never got that artwork back. And so that's what I used to do. But then I had to start learning to draw digitally because I studied game art and animation. That was a struggle in the beginning because we had to draw on our laptops with a tablet, one of those art tablets. And you're drawing in front of you, but it's appearing on the screen above, and it is such a weird feeling. You're like, what? How does that even work? So that took me quite a while, and oh my god, I was absolute hopeless at it. Super hopeless. And I thought, I'm never gonna get this. I'm never gonna get this. And I have to be honest, it took me a lot longer to understand how it worked than I'd like to admit. But everyone has their own learning curve and everyone learns in their own time, so in the end it's fine. And that overtook everything. I stopped drawing with Copic markers and everything because digital took over my life as it was requested by uni. They wanted everything done digital. So eventually, Copic markers started collecting dust and you kind of forget about your own projects. You get so sucked into all the projects you have to do that I also started neglecting my own personal work, and I didn't have a portfolio of my own personal work. Everything was pure uni-based. So that's quite a shame. But now I'm learning to paint. My fiance's teaching me how to paint. And I love it. Oh my god. Seriously, I improved so much in the last 2 months or so that I started painting.
Yeah, definitely.
And I love it. I think even though I love digital and I draw on my iPad now, my tablet one day decided to stop working when I lived at my grandma's. And so that was 2020 or 2021, I think. I think 2020 when my grandma was still alive, stopped working, and then I got an iPad, and that was drawing on the screen, and that was like, wow, I wish I had this in uni. But that's where I do my commissions on and a lot of personal art, but now I'm going back to traditional with painting, and I absolutely love it. So I think, even though I love digital, and I still struggle with painting, I do think painting is my favorite medium up to now, like with acrylic paint. So I think that has to be my answer, my very, very long answer to the question.
Yeah, I think oil. I love oil. Traditional oils are. Takes time, long process, but it's a therapeutic, physical part of it. And when I've painted oil, I normally paint big, so it's just having that freedom to like just move your full arm and your elbow and to get certain things. Whereas digital, I found, even though you can zoom in, you still got that same space to move about with, and you can't flow with it. And there's the differences again. So
Very true.
digital really is like a flat feeling, and again the oils and acrylic paints on digital are just nowhere near the same as the real thing. And the real thing is like those sculptures as well, and it's that feeling that the difference between digital and traditional paint is, it's like sculptures. You feel that 3D-ness about it, the form around it. Digital, I can't get that.
Yeah.
Now, I was the other way. When I went to digital, I was like that, oh wow, this is amazing. This is like so fast, and the way you can layer things up. And
Yeah.
I'm not saying like digital's easier, but they've got pros and cons to both.
Definitely.
But digital is easier for decision making and getting things done quicker. It's definitely easier about it. And what takes me 20 hours on a traditional, I can get done in 3 on digital. 3 hours in digital. So time wise is like, of course digital is faster, but of course there's no drying time, there's nothing like that, and you can do wet and wet looks if you want, or layer it up like dry and then wet afterwards and things like that. So you can do all sorts with the digital thing. It's just there instant. You don't have to mix your paints, you don't have to wash your brushes. And at first, what a relief when I did digital, because it was like, oh, I don't have to wash my brushes. Then I started to find that I missed it.
Yeah.
Now I've gone back to like traditional again lately, and washing my brushes is like part of the therapy, part of it. I'm enjoying it. I also love sculptures as well. So, but the thing with sculptures again is that I find sculptures easier than paintings because it's there already. I can like kind of visualize things, and it's just there. And I think traditional 2D is, you've got to fill in the shadows. It's there. The shadows are there.
Yeah.
You know, you've got to do everything there and then, and it's got to be the finished piece. Because I've got used to working digital again, I've gone back to traditional, and that's where I'm a bit, I can't do a layer now. And I'm having to like really think about things again, and there's the slowness again of it, but it's part of the process that I'm enjoying.
Yeah.
But still, I do physically like that approach and the size of it, that you're not limited on this little screen, whether you zoom in or whatever it is, you know what I mean? Like, there's just something physical about it. Even when we was making like prints, them Lano prints, even though they were tiny, it's still and about the size of the iPad that we'll work on. It was physical. It was still different. Yeah. So again, it was just something about that was like physical. Yeah. You just get a feel for that. And obviously, I'm not criticising digital at all. Everyone's got their own preferences, but same with the background that I came from. I used to work in the college. We used to do darkroom. It wasn't digital photography. It was analog. It was black and white. And again, a bit wire, like black and white photography, artworks and that again. It's the background I came from on that. Then when I got a digital camera, digital SLR, it was the same feeling of switching to digital traditional art. It was that, oh wow, you can just, before traditional film, you had like a roll of 30. You made a mistake, plus you don't know what it looks like until you go in the darkroom and develop the images. It was such a slow process. But the physical part of that is when you're putting the light on and you can manipulate things with the light.
Yeah.
So that was like a physical part of it when you're actually doing the print itself. But up until then, you don't know whether it's worked or not, and you've just got this roll of 30, images that you got to work with. Digital came along. I got my digital camera, and I was like, "Whoa, I can do thousands of images," and I see it there and then whether it's worked or not. I can experiment with certain things on it.
Yeah.
Exactly the same thing when I went to digital art. It was that, not that digital photography is any easier. It's just the time makes it easier, and that you can just experiment.
Yeah.
That's one difference. With digital, you can experiment, whether it's photography or art, anything like that, or even music. Music got so easy now. Back in the old days when they used to record on tapes, exactly the same. It's such a long process.
Yeah.
So digital has got so many things but you can also use digital to. You can do a traditional. I do it myself. I do a traditional artwork.
Mm-hmm.
Yesterday, I took a photo on my iPad, and instead of making decisions on the canvas to speed things up, I did it in digital to see if I wanted thicker makeup and how does it look and how does it work. So you can incorporate like digital into traditional as well to speed traditional up. That's the advantage of like the beauty of digital. But yeah, I think oil is definitely something I just love.
Yeah.
I love the process of it, and just the way it blends together, and you can do so many things. It's just so buttery, and the paints, and you can just there's just something about it that I don't think it's ever going to go. No. When you look at how things are going with AI now, it's getting so cold, and I think there's going to be a market again for like traditional things again, like acrylics and oils and stuff. That I think they're going to be. They're going to come back in fashion, I think, now, because I think people are going a bit carried away with like AI and things like that now.
Yeah.
And a lot of digital work can look a bit. I find it with myself because I try not make it to look like this plasticky look.
Yeah.
So when I work, there's certain artworks where people have asked myself on social media, like, is that oil or acrylic? It's not. It's been digital, but they've asked me that. So I also try and keep a traditional look about my digitals as well.
Yeah.
With that, and it took a bit of time to find that because it can just look a bit plasticky sometimes with just my preference on my style.
Yeah.
But when I work digital, I do try and keep it to that traditional feeling again because again, it's that favourite method that I'm using.
Yeah. So I hope this answered the questions. Thank you so much again to Unhinged Cotton Candy and Miss Jekko for asking these questions.
Really deep thoughts.
Yeah, very. If you have any questions for us that you'd like for us to answer, please leave them in the comments. And hopefully you enjoyed it and good to have you in the next one.